Hello, welcome to Ramblings of a 42-Year-Old Man. Chris Smith here with you today, and today we're going to ramble real quick about the X-Men series that has recently kind of come out on the heels of the House of X, Powers of 10 combo that we talked real quick about back in our Rogue and Gambit episode. So in 2019, they revamped the entire X-Men line, all under writer Jonathan Hickman, and this was done with the House of X reboot. It was called House of X, and there was a sister series called Powers of 10 that kind of started out this reboot of the franchise, where the X-Men all start living on this kind of living island of Krakoa. It's supposed to be a safe haven for mutants, and they're declaring their sovereignty, pretty much kind of creating their own country, sort of. And of course, humanity, who has always been really awful with mutants and persecuting them and enslaving them and all sorts of bad stuff. Some people take more kindly to this than others. So, of course, as the series goes forward, we go from that kind of limited run into what's called of the Dawn of X era. And so Dawn of X includes a number of books, including, hold on, I got a little list of them here. Let me grab real quick. Including there's an X-Men series itself that's written by Jonathan Hickman. You've got a Marauders series. You've got Jerry Duggan on that. You've got an X-Force series, New Mutant series, Excalibur series with Teenie Howard writing. And those are kind of your main ongoings through this era. There's a couple that kind of was one that kind of gets started right at the beginning called Fallen Angels. It goes for about 6 issues and then it stops. Kind of a Psylocke-centered book. And then you've got some that kind of come on board during this era, and that's there's a Cable series, a Wolverine, Hellions, and an X-Factor series that all get started. So you got a total of about 10 different books in and out. You got 5 that are throughout the entire era, and then you got another 5 that kind of come in or go out as you go through. And all this era culminates in a kind of X-Men book-wide crossover event called the Ten of Swords. And that's involves pretty much every one of these books except for, I think, Fallen Angels had already ended by this time, and X-Factor did not get necessarily involved in this one, although it did take a break while this event was happening before it started back up right after it. So you got 9 books kind of crossing over through here. I got like maybe a 1 to 2 month period. I think there was like 2 comics from each of the books that were involved. 22 total stories across this crossover event. It was one of the bigger crossover events that I've seen. And I love it. I love this whole era because it really ties everything together. One of the issues that I had when I kind of started rereading comics, I started back rereading the ones that I was initially into as a kid in the 90s. And there were so many different books. So, we had an Excalibur and a Cable and an X-Force and an X-Factor. And then you had Wolverine's solo comic. And then you would have things like Alpha Flight coming through. And then all these different kind of limited runs. And then you'd have, New Mutants was there. But then you also branch into things like Ecstatic and the Generation X. And it just got to be there where there's so many things to read that almost felt overwhelming. So what I really loved about the House of X Powers of 10 is that it kind of brought everything together. And yes, you now have, at first it was just 6 books right at the beginning, but then we brought in a few more. Now there's about 9 ongoings right now with some limited things. But even that was pretty tight compared to what we had by like the 2000s range of just how many sprawling series there was everywhere. And so I've loved this kind of reboot and kind of bringing everything a little bit tighter together. And so I've been enjoying it a lot. I've gone through all of the Dawn of X at this point, including the Ten of Swords, which, like I said, was quite a fun crossover event. And that kind of brings us into the next era of X-Men, which is called Reign of X. I'm starting that now, and enjoying it all so far. Now this is kind of, I guess, year 2 of the House of X reboot. And then I know after this is going to be Destiny of X, and then Fall of X, which is going to start sometime here in August. So I'm actually getting to the point where I'm going to get caught up. I haven't been caught up in X-Men comics ever, probably since I was reading them back in the early 90s. But it'll feel good to kind of be up to where they are now. I love where the stories are going, and if you're a comics fan at all, if you're an X-Men fan at all, it is a great place to get into it because it really does kind of restart the whole line. And like I said, the 9 ongoing books that are going on right now may sound like a lot, but when you're used to just how many crazy amount of books there were in the 90s and the 2000s, it is definitely more streamlined and easier to get into. And all these stories really are interwoven with each other. They're all taking place in the same area. They have different characters and stuff coming in and out of them. Depending on which month you pull up, the X-Men comic could have any number of these characters across all the books coming in. And Ten of Swords was great because it really did bring all these characters from all the books together for this one event, and it's been a number of years since we were able to pull that off. So I enjoyed it quite a bit. I love what Jonathan Hickman has done. I know that at this point, with the, I believe the Destiny of X and now the Fall of X, I think he has stepped back from the X-Men comics, but you can tell a lot of the writers that he brought on are still in it, and so I'm interested to see how everything goes moving forward. But that's Dawn of X so far, with the Ten of Swords crossover event ending that, and now I'm going to get into Reign of X, and we'll see how it goes there. We'll probably do a quick rambling about that whenever I get done with that yearly series. So thank you guys all for listening to me, as always. I had to kind of move my backdrop because I wanted to show off all of my cool comic stuff I got on the wall, but a lot of that came from MegaCon the last couple of years. It's been a lot of fun. I know a lot of people probably saw those videos, but anyway, I've been enjoying this kind of renaissance back into comics for me. Been having a good time reading them, and I will continue to do so. So thank you again for listening, and we'll ramble again soon. Bye-bye.